FREDD'N.
Let me set the stage. You've just reached the ending of Secret of the Mimic. Of course, you recognize that character, right? Teased in Daco's charity stream, that character is Mr. Helpful. Clearly, Mr. Helpful seems to be some variant of Helpy, though noticeably it has slight differences to the Helpy we know today. Recognize the purple top hat and bow tie? These design choices seem to connect him to the Fredbear character. But why? I think these colors are telling us the age of the Helpy character, along with the idea that Edwin might have had a hand in creating Fredbear himself. You may have noticed that Helpy, the character, is clearly just a mini Funtime Freddy. Same color scheme with the white primary coat and pink accents. The only difference is that Helpy has both of his hands. But at the likely 1979 date Secret of the Mimic takes place in, Circus Baby's Pizza World didn't exist at the time of Murray's Costume Manor. So, we have this character, Mr. Helpful, along with the Helper AI, characters that seem to act like the precursor to our modern day Helpy, the latter of which seems to be plugged into MCM, controlling everything, supported by the idea that it gives you security bypasses. Notice how on Mr. Helpful's box we can see the same icons on our early Fazwrench. But with these new teasers and information we're getting dropped about these two specific characters, it makes me wonder, why? Why are we being shown specific looks at Mr. Helpful and Helper? What is Helpy's importance in the Steel Wool era? Well, as I gave the newest teasers time to marinate in my mind, giving myself time to think, I might have come up with a reason as to why. Before we understand why we have this history of Helpy beginning with Mr. Helpful, I think it's important to start with Helpy himself. Throughout the Steel Wool era, Helpy seems to be a calling card of the Mimic. In the first Help Wanted, you can find an Easter egg of Helpy behind the computer in front of you. The odds of this encounter are very slim, but nonetheless, it's seemingly inconspicuous. Until you realize that the Mimic has a presence in the game through the character of Glitchtrap. Not only that, but looking at the main level UI, Helpy is on the icon for every section, even when in the Curse of Dreadbear DLC. This could represent the Mimic learning about all of Fazbear's information throughout the game, taking info from the VR title to help create the persona of Glitchtrap. But Helpy's connection to the Mimic are strengthened in Security Breach, where we see save stations spread across the entire Pizzaplex. In every crevice, every corner, there are these save stations waiting for us, the player, to interact with. The strangest thing about them, however, is that they show one character on it. Helpy. Helpy is on every one of these screens, and not only that, but in Tales from the Pizzaplex, we learn about the Mimic gaining control over everything in the Pizzaplex through the storyteller tree. All of the animatronics, technology, arcade machines, everything. But by the end of the Tales from the Pizzaplex stories, it seems that the storyteller tree, along with the Mimic's AI, has been removed at some point, with only some lingering code. But it begs the question of how exactly the Mimic AI gained control again in Security Breach. Well, what if it's through these save stations? These stations plugged into every wall of the Pizzaplex, all depicting a Helpy that has been shown to us to have some connection to the Mimic code. But of course, you're probably wondering where the connection between Helpy and the Mimic came from in the first place. Why am I so confident that Helpy's presence is nearly always connected with the Mimic? Well, that comes from Five Nights at Freddy's Ruin. In Ruin, we are introduced to a Helpy chip that gets implemented into Cassie's head near the beginning of the DLC. The interesting quirk about it is that it has basic things it tells her, but it can also be distorted by the Mimic AI, having orange eyes and lines in its head, giving Cassie advice to lead her to freeing the Mimic, eventually leading to Cassie nearly releasing the Mimic from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. A little side note and tiny theory idea here: what if Helpy being in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator is recontextualized to the Mimic eventually being trapped in that location? Little theories aside, Ruin also gives us an interesting moment. Throughout the game, the Gregory we talk to on our walkie-talkie is actually the Mimic, something revealed at the end of the game. But while the Mimic animatronic and Mimic 1 AI Helpy share the same goal, to release the Mimic, they seem to act independently from each other. This is shown to us in an interaction where they actually disagree.
Yeah, with my help, I updated Helpy with a signal jammer. That won't bother you anymore.
Keep that in mind. Moving on, the next connection we'd find comes from Help Wanted 2, another VR title that is infected by the Mimic AI through Glitchtrap. However, in the true ending of the game, Vanny squishes Glitchtrap after the protagonist beats Princess Quest 4. But here's the strange thing about it. In the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place you're in, you see a projector projecting Helpy, telling that you either have new tasks or is just chilling at the beach. However, after vanquishing Glitchtrap from the system, Helpy is gone. But this game, Help Wanted 2, has an Easter egg in it that is the basis from my prediction. An image so strange, so curious, that it led me down this path of thought. The Helpy levels in Help Wanted 2 offer an interesting environment. In front of you is a table with different tools to help Helpy, along with Helpy himself. On either side of you are two vents, very similar to the layout of Pizzeria Simulator, where you also had two giant vents on either side of you. Not only that, but you are being hunted down by Pizzeria Simulator animatronics, in specific Scrap Baby, Lefty, and Pig Patch for some odd reason. Weirdly, no Afton or Molten Freddy, but whatever. That's not what I'm looking at today. What I'm looking at are these get well soon drawings that feature what seems to be plot points in the FNAF franchise. Here we have what looks to be the MCI kids, representative of course the MCI. 4 children, one has a top hat. Seems like the 4 missing kids that possess the original gang. There's a drawing of Scrap Baby, obviously representative of Pizzeria Simulator, the ending to the Scott Games era. But then there's these two, and these ones are the strangest out of any of them. The first two depict what seems to be Gregory and Cassie standing over a bear's body, a bear with 2 X's on his eyes representing its defeat. This to me seems to represent a time in the games we haven't seen yet, the defeat of the Mimic, represented by Helpy on the ground with Gregory and Cassie having defeated him. But then that leaves one. This drawing of Helpy running from a burning building, being chased by some figure with an axe of some sort. But what does this mean? You might think of fires and think of either FNAF 3 or Pizzeria Simulator, and I wouldn't blame you for this thought. It was mine at first as well. Except Helpy isn't in FNAF 3. And we already have a drawing depicting Pizzeria Simulator with Scrap Baby. So what could this drawing possibly mean? Well, I think this drawing is showing us a certain era we're just about to see in the games. The Murray's Costume Manor era. Murray's Costume Manor is the newest location in the new game, Secret of the Mimic. Of course, we've gotten views of it from not only the Tales from the Pizzaplex books, but from the teaser in Help Wanted 2 as well. However, that begs the question, What happened to it? Why isn't this location in the franchise anymore? Well, maybe we've known the answer since the release of Help Wanted 2, and it all stems from this drawing, Helpy running away from a burning building. We have a clear connection between Helpy and the Mimic. We know these two are almost always related. Even in these artworks, Helpy already represents the Mimic in the Gregory and Cassie one. So what is this showing us? Well, maybe it's the Mimic escaping Murray's costume manor. We already have a clear connection between Helpy and the Mimic, and why would this game be any different? Helper is an AI that seems to be in charge of the whole facility. Mr. Helpful is a physical body for the AI to act through, with this game also having a physical Mimic animatronic who, much like in Ruin, might act independently from the Helper AI. After all, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. My Freddles, the answer may have been here the whole time. From the intro I showed you how this game is going to end already. It ends with the Mimic escaping. It ends with Murray's costume manor burning down, and most importantly, we are the reason. Our player character will burn down the building. There's a part of the drawing I haven't discussed yet. In the drawing of Helpy escaping the building, you can see a man with an axe chasing Helpy. A man with an evil expression as if he is going after Helpy for a reason. We are the character with the axe chasing down the Mimic. But why? Why are we being so malicious towards the Mimic? Well, maybe because the Mimic's secret is that we have a connection to it. Something that is unveiled later in the game that leads to us changing missions. We no longer want to retrieve the Mimic. We want to destroy it. But why? Why would we want to destroy the Mimic? Why are we seemingly still after the Mimic even after the fire? And I'll be honest, my Freddles, I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty stumped on the whys myself. It doesn't make sense. Unless, of course, our protagonist was either Edwin or Cassie's dad. We already know Cassie's dad goes after the Mimic AI later in life through Help Wanted 2, where he plays Princess Quest to defeat Glitchtrap. But that's a theory for another day. Or at least until the release of the game, that is. But what do you think? Do you think that this drawing is depicting the Mimic escaping Murray's costume manor? Do you think that Helpy is really connected to the Mimic? Do you believe that the protagonist of Secret of the Mimic might be Cassie's dad? What's your ideas? Comment them down below, because if you don't, I'm gonna send the Mimic after you. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you at 6 a.m.